Hi guys, welcome to today's episode of the Lean Muscle Warriors podcast. I'm here today with a colleague of mine. He's a certified online trainer from Barrie, Canada. And he specifically helps busy women losing weight in 90 days and keeping it off forever. His name is Alex Harriman. Hi Alex, how are you today?
Hey Francesco, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Yeah, here in Vienna we are still in lockdown. Can you go to the gym in Barrie?
You know what? There still are gyms open here. Just south of us in Toronto, all of the gyms are closed. But here we have some gyms open. There's a lot of regulations and rules as to how many people can be there at a time and that type of thing. But right now, with myself, I just recently broke my ankle, so I'm not going to any public gyms at all, actually.
I see. And how? Well, first we're gonna talk about your injury later, but I'm curious about your story and specifically how you got into fitness and when did you realize that you wanted to be a trainer?
Okay, yeah. So when I came out of high school, I went to college, a local college, for a diploma for strength and sport conditioning. So we focused a lot on training athletes and different Olympic lifts and power lifts, and that kind of sparked my passion for fitness. I got my first personal training certification that year and just started training at a local gym.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of ever since then I've done it on and off until it got more and more serious. In 2015 I got pretty serious into training, and then when my son was born in 2017, I knew that I had to make a couple different lifestyle changes because because of the time commitment. Obviously, with most training, people can either train early in the morning before work or late at night, and that doesn't work great when you've got a newborn baby at home. So that's when things started to really evolve and change for me.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, now, like, I'm curious, like, during that first year when your son was born, how many times realistically were you going to the gym at the time, if you remember?
I was at the gym almost every day at about 5 a.m. Until about 10 a.m. And then I'd come home in between and go back to the gym around 4 p.m.
Yeah,
until about 9 p.m. So it was almost every day, twice a day. And I was missing a lot of those key times with my family and spending it at the gym instead.
yeah, I see. Is that when you realized that you wanted to kind of restructure your business and start training people online too to get more free time as well? Or did that happen at different time?
Yeah, you got it. I started researching online training and getting involved with it right around that time he was born. But it was a slow build. I mean, it didn't happen overnight. So it was one of those things that as I started to build my online brand and business, I slowly stopped working a little bit less in the gym. And then over time, it became fully online and no longer in person.
I see. Yeah, and I'm sure that coming from a strength and conditioning background, you work with many different people. So I saw from your website that you focus on helping busy women, and I'm curious if you specifically thought that you had skills to help this particular person, or was it like the other way around, that you found yourself working with women mostly and you decide to really get specialized in that?
You know what was interesting is I started off really enthusiastic about working with athletes and powerlifters and people who are involved with sports. And I enjoyed that, and I still do enjoy that. But I also I enjoyed doing that a little bit more in person for sure than doing it online. And what I found was a lot of people who I was working with and who needed my help were these busy women and these moms and women with not a lot of time. That was the people who were coming to me the most. So kind of as I grew and changed my programming and adapted, I found that I was able to better help that community than the community that I originally set out to help.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense, and it becomes so much more enjoyable as well when you really narrow down your ideal client, because then you can better find out their struggles and when the struggles comes up. So yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand your decision of focusing on a specific client. And have you, like, what's the main um, struggles that your ideal client have when they come to you?
You know what I think it is for most of my clients is it's getting into the all or nothing mentality. And I think a lot of people fall into this trap. I don't think it has to be just busy women or the clients that I work with, but falling into that mentality where if you're not going to be able to do everything perfectly, then we won't do anything at all. So often a person will not have time to, say, get their fourth workout in for the week, and they can only fit in 3. And rather than doing those 3 and doing them well, they'll kind of say, oh, I'll just wait till next week and then I'll do all 4 and I won't do anything this week. But as you and I know, that it couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, if you're going to be able to get in 3 good training sessions one week, you're still going to get benefit out of that, and it's still going to help you on your journey. And the same thing applies to nutrition. If you have a really excessive breakfast and you eat a whole bunch of extra food, it doesn't mean you need to just sabotage your lunch and your dinner as well. You can still make good choices the rest of that day. So I think that's the biggest struggle for people is that I work with, is just wrapping their head around the fact that it doesn't always have to be perfect to keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And why do you think is that? Why do you think people tend to try to make things perfect or not doing anything at all? Why there is very rarely a place in between where people do a balance?
Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty ingrained in us, and especially in the fitness and nutrition culture, with all of the January 1st starts and the quick fixes and all of the challenges and the detoxes and all of the really extreme changes. I think we kind of ingrain it into us that you have to be perfect in order to make a change. So people really push themselves hard January 1st. And then of course it becomes unsustainable by January 28th. And it becomes unsustainable by January 28th and they fall off, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and this black and white mentality, like we talk about it already in the podcast, and it's really sabotaging your long-term progress. As you are trying to get perfect, you are only getting far away from your end goal because you are highlighting the idea that there is something wrong with you, whether there is only like current habits which can be perfect, current actions that can be either changed or implemented, but there is no good or bad or like paradise or prison. So like how would you recommend like fixing this situation or like improving this situation? If you recognize, let's say that I'm your ideal client and I come to you and at the moment I'm having a quite drastic approach, whether I eliminate carbs or I move from going, I don't know, 7 sessions a week for 2 weeks to doing 0. Like, what would you say is the ideal practical step to do in this case?
What I really love to do is take a look at where somebody is and try to get them just one small step closer to where it's realistic for them to commit to long term. So if somebody isn't doing anything, I'm not going to expect them to do everything. I'm going to start with very, very small steps that they feel comfortable taking. But like you mentioned, if somebody is already trying to do everything, they're training 7 days a week and they're not eating any carbs, what I want to do is I want to sit down and I want to pick a few goals that they realistically could commit to over at least a 90-day period. So what's something you could do every single day for the next 90 days? And if they can't see themselves exercising 7 days a week for 90 days, then we're not going to take that approach. It doesn't make sense for almost everybody. So we need to backpedal those goals a little bit and set goals that they can hit every single day or every single week, so that we can start building up that long-term momentum and compound on those wins.
Yeah. Alex, you remind me of the biopsychosocial model. Are you familiar with this term?
Yes.
Yeah. And I was thinking about it today as I was finishing my workout, and like what you just said, it's great, because I often talk to people who are afraid that they are concerned about their ability to complete a training or a diet program, and like my biggest my most frequent chat with them is just trying to let them know that the process is going to be tailored and based around their goals and their current circumstances, because you might be talking with a busy woman who is a young woman and is studying at university, so she's busy, but she also has time to learn, study new things, implement new training. Or you might be talking with a busy executive mom of 2 who is also just bought a new house and she's planning to refurbish the house. So those are totally, even if they're 2 busy women, they are totally different people. They might have as well different culture, different environments. And so if we take the biopsychosocial model, fitness becomes much less of a drastic thing or a things to fix. And it becomes more of an area where, as you said, we can have a look at the current situation. And from there, see what the client feels comfortable in doing. And then design together the action steps to take in the next 90 days.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah.
Often when people come to me, it's like they've gone through so many of these extreme changes or diets or programs before, that at first they almost feel like what they're doing with me is too simple or too easy, that there's no way that it could work.
Yeah.
Right? It comes as a surprise to them that it could be that simple to make progress.
And how do you feel when because like one thing that I learned being a trainer, personal trainer and online coach, is that most of the people don't care about fitness, and it's okay, because they want to be elite in their life, in their parenting life, partner life. So that's fine, their career. And it's fine. Like they don't share the same the same passion, and that's why you should simplify. Although sometimes knowing all the things that a coach should know, so all the different topics, it feels a little bit reductive, isn't it, when you are simplifying things? And it kind of feels as well that sometimes your professionalism is at stake. So I'd like to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting to open people's eyes to to all of this. Like sometimes you have somebody who comes to you who's not doing any exercise, and you get them walking every day, and you know they're walking every day, and all of a sudden just adding in a 20-minute walk each day on top of a few new nutrition changes, and they're making great progress. And they'll say, like, when do we get into the hard workouts? And well, are you ready? Are you ready to commit to some hard workouts, or are you happy with the progress you're making? Because I've had people go through 90 days where we focus a lot on habits and nutrition, and they walk every day and they make a ton of progress. And for some people that's okay. And at the end of the day, it's just getting them to be happy with what they're doing and comfortable with what they're doing. Because on the other hand, I've had other people come and they, by the end of their 90 days, they're at a gym 5 days a week exercising, and that's okay too. I mean, we all have different journeys and we all have different timelines, and what works well for somebody doesn't have to be the same formula for somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, just specifically on the walking more side of things, I'm a huge fan of that too, and that's why in these days, I don't know if you know, but I'm currently running a quick 2 weeks 10K challenge. So just to encourage people on to walk more. But the challenge is it has actually a price draw of 400 euro to all the people. Well, I'm going to select one winner between all the people who successfully walk more than 10,000 steps a day in the last 2 weeks of 2020. And
wow.
Yeah, that's such an easy way to implement like a daily action to start losing fat, but also to increase your energy level.
Absolutely. I think that's amazing. It's such a simple concept, but such a great idea at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Alex, I work with women in the past. I have to say that 70% of my clients now are men. I think it's just like a natural selection, like men probably identify themselves more in me. Although I feel very comfortable in working with women, but there is one question that always comes up when a woman contact me. Well, I wouldn't say often comes up when a woman contact me, and is their concern of building too much muscle. Have you had a lot of these questions too?
Oh yeah, well, this is a very common question. I'd say I hear it from almost everybody, and what I love is if you get these people who are afraid of building too much muscle. If I say, okay, show me some pictures of people that have more muscle than you would like to acquire. And what they'll often describe is somebody who has devoted their lives to building muscle.
Yeah.
So it's not like that person woke up one morning and said, "Oh my goodness, I have too much muscle." They've actually spent their entire life building that muscle, or at least many years, and that's not something that happened by accident. That's something that they wanted more than anything. In order to get to that point, it's not going to happen by accident. It's not going to happen by chance. And it takes a long time also. So if you start to get to the point where you're building more muscle than you want, that's an easy change.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to just all of a sudden snap your fingers and boom, you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly, how often, I mean, have you ever met anyone who like specifically said, I am building too much muscle and too fast, so I need to slow down?
No. It's always people at the start of the journey are afraid to build too much muscle, and people who they think have too much muscle probably still want more muscle.
Yeah, exactly. You never, well, yeah, I agree. You never have enough muscle. But, and by this, I don't want to sound like a bodybuilding enthusiast, which I am, but it's just that there are so many health benefits linked with the resistance training that is kind of frustrating when you hear stories of people who either had a bad experience with resistance training or maybe tried CrossFit and they gain weight because they were not looking at their energy intake or food choices or basic nutrition principles, and they start gaining weight and they kind of link the CrossFit or weight experience with gaining weight. So if you are talking with a woman who had a bad experience, so we're not talking about a woman who wants to lose fat and doesn't know how to do it. We're talking about a woman who have tried weights, notice a little change, but then fail to kind of implement the training routine into their life and successfully. So they struggle to see results on the long term. They go to the gym regularly, but they believe that they will not get the results. So like they have this self-limiting belief that weights will not make the cut for them. I'm curious about how would you deal with this scenario?
Yeah, that I mean, it's a tough one, and I think a lot of people have been there at some point in their journey, and it's I mean, if they're coming to you as the professional, they've seen some of the results that you've gotten with other clients, and at a certain point they have to trust in you and trust in what you're doing. But on another hand, it's often those bad experiences come from the same thing we spoke of earlier. It was just trying to do too much too fast, right? So breaking it down into more manageable goals and more realistic goals and guidelines for the person can sometimes really improve the experience. They might start to love weightlifting if the sessions are tailored a little bit more to what they enjoy, and maybe they're not as intense as a certain CrossFit class was. It's a little bit more simplified or something that they enjoy more, and then just getting that enjoyment out of it and then seeing the progressions from week to week. I think that in itself helps, but also in the beginning, just them trusting in you and trusting in your process that they're going to see the results over a longer period of time.
I love it. I love it so much how you build that trust in your coaching relationship. It's very outstanding. And Alex, like you were talking before about your injury. First of all, I'm sorry to hear that coming from a powerlifting / strength and conditioning background, it must be frustrating not to be able to train. So what are you looking forward to when you will be back to training? Are you looking forward to go back to training and just build back your routine and your health, or do you already have? I know it happened to me when I was off the gym. I'm like, okay, when I will go back, I already have my goals set up. So what are you looking forward to do in terms of fitness as soon as you go back to training?
You know what? I think I'm looking forward to all of it, but what's really interesting about an injury is it gives you a chance to really focus on other aspects of life, right? I'm still doing a little bit of exercise, some upper body stuff and things that I can manage, and that's okay. But it's allowing me to really focus on my nutrition because it becomes that much more important through an injury. It's allowing me to focus and spend a little bit more time with my family, to read a few more books, to focus on some things outside of exercise, which is okay. But also it's given me a lot of time to think. And one of the things that I look forward to and it excites me is it's like rebuilding or starting from scratch. You get to rewrite your fitness journey, right? So I know I'm not starting completely from scratch, but certainly it will be a setback, and it does. You can either look at that as a huge negative and a disappointment that you're getting set back, or you can look at it as a challenge. And that's what I'm trying to do. Is it's a challenge and it's an opportunity for me to rebuild myself and rewrite my story, which is exciting to me. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to every part of it.
Yes, and I'm curious about one specific thing that you mentioned now. So like when you will go back to training, I imagine that your strength will go down slightly.
Yep, big
Okay.
time.
And, you know, I think, so I'm not going to the gym because gyms are closed here. So I'm looking forward for gyms to reopen again. And my strength will have gone down for sure. Maybe like a 10, 20%. Maybe less, maybe more, but around that range. And I'm going to be happy about it. Whether a
Yep.
lot of people will say, oh, fucking hell, my strength went down, so I'm regressed. And no, you're not. Like okay, you might have lost a little bit of muscle, you might have gained a little bit of fat, but still in that moment when you go back to the gym and you go under the barbell and it feels heavy, you can just drop the load a little bit and, as you said, build it back up. And in that mesocycle, so in that month of training or in the following period of time, you will see short body recomposition. So like you will see that your body fat will go down, your muscle mass will go up, and your strength will go back to where it was pretty quickly. So it's a huge opportunity, whether some people see it as a step back, as you said. So
Absolutely. And something that everybody should do at certain points in their weightlifting journey is take some weight off and focus on form, right? Because it's easy to get caught up in pushing harder and harder and harder to the point of an injury. So this is just a forced way to force you to take a step back and make sure your form is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is one other aspect where you can see like good coaches to not so good coaches, and it's like if you are using deload weeks or weeks of lower intensity training program to facilitate the recovery, to improve as well the mind muscle connection or your technique. I don't know about your story, but the first time I took a diet break, a deload week, so a week of, is a week where basically you reduce the load. I personally dropped the volume by half, so I dropped the training sets that I did on the previous week by half, and I dropped the load at 10%. So it's not like a super easy session. I'm still moving weights, but I'm not trying to create any adaptation. So I don't try to break any muscle. And the first week I tried it, I hated it because I was so into heavy and hard training. And I was like, I want to keep pushing. I don't need it. I'm hardcore. And then I took that deload week. In the week, I felt even more tired. More lethargic. I could sleep more than I did, and the best thing though is the week after I felt amazing. So really, I started implementing deloads every 4 or 5 weeks. Do you use them regularly when you train yourself or with your clients?
Yes to both. Myself, I'll do them in between 4 and 7 weeks. If I'm training very hard. And then same thing with my clients who are training hard and are training in the gym. That being said, I have a lot of clients that are training at home. And like I said, like some people are just doing walks daily. Like I'm not going to program in a deload for somebody who's just walking every day. But the same concept, we put a lot of stress and emphasis on recovery. But absolutely, people in the gym who are training hard in the gym, lifting weights, program them in and make sure I really emphasize the importance of them, because people in the beginning of their journeys, just like you said, never want to do them. They hate them.
Especially if they start seeing, like I think the most challenging person to kind of implement the deload week, if it hasn't been implemented earlier, or if they never tried it, it's the beginner, because the beginner have those newbie gains and they start getting so happy about being able to build muscle and see their body fat going down, which is something that rarely happen in people who are into fitness for like more than 6 months. or are people who are training regularly. So really, like it's very powerful, and it's challenging for a coach. It's been challenging for me for sure to have that conversation with people about the benefit of implementing deloads.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it many times with people who are new and experiencing those beginner gains you talk about. You're absolutely right.
Cool. Alex, so, like in this podcast, I'd like to know to all my guests, I like to ask to all my guests a sub $100 purchase, which has the most impact in your life. So I'd like to know what's yours.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I mean, I think if I look back in different periods of my life, I would give you different answers. So thinking back recently, the most impactful thing that I've purchased for under $100 would be the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. And it's definitely changed the way that I've thought about money and money management, which I think is important for anybody because it's something we don't really learn in school unless you go to school for something finance related. So it was just an eye opener, and it not necessarily that you have to take everything you get from the book, but I think it opened my eyes to some different thinking towards money, which is so important for every young person trying to figure life out.
So since we are talking about the book, like what would you say are your major like points that you at least implemented in your life that you learned from the book?
Yeah, so I used the book to structure my business finances, but then I also took it a step further and used it to structure my personal finances, which I think is, I think everybody needs some sort of plan for their personal finances. So what's worked well for me and what I took from it is to when you get paid to move money to assigned accounts, right? So to have an account that works towards paying down school debt, and to have an account that works towards saving up for a vacation or a big purchase, rather than what the trap that most people fall into is look at the bank account. Yes, I have enough money, make the purchase. Well, when we assign money to a specific account, you don't make that purchase until that account has enough money to afford the vacation without going into further debt on a credit card or a line of credit or a car payment or something like that. So it wasn't anything mind-blowing, and often the most life-changing things aren't. It just forces you to take a different perspective and a different look at it.
Yeah, I read the book too, just recently. And as you said, like, I think there are many things that you can implement, and the most valuable thing to me is, think about this. I know people who every year complain about regular expenses. We're talking about car insurance or the dentist or taxes. And if you could have a look, bring the clocks forward and have a look at your life once it's finished, you can kind of have an average of your daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly expenses. So you can either decide to be blinded and to say, no, I think the reason why I'm not happy is because I'm not having enough money in the bank account. Or you can kind of take ownership and say, okay, what do I need to do the things that I love? How much money do I need to buy a house? How much, or to just do the first payment of the house? And that forces you to think about the things you value and the things that you are willing to do sacrifice for. Plus, as you said, the money management aspect, I think it's fundamental for any small business owner. Small, but even in the book, it talks about as well hugely big, massive business as well. I'm not sure that those percentages will work for everyone, but surely the idea in the book is something that I value a lot. So great purchase, Alex.
Well, it's interesting because the same concept can be applied to our time management too.
Yeah.
Right. And it's something that I'm sure you've dealt with, and I know I've dealt with clients, is teaching how to manage time for fitness and health. Well, we need to put those important things into our schedule and then let life build around them, rather than letting your life build up and your plate fill, and then whatever time's left over, we put towards health and fitness, because it's never going to work. Just the same as if you use whatever money's left over at the end of the week to pay off debt, there's not going to be any money left over.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, this can be applied as well when I don't know, it surely happened to you, but it happened to me very often, where a person, like a client of mine, goes out for dinner or have a social occasion, and they get back to me after the occasion saying, I wasn't great with my diet, and they kind of get upset about the fact that they had to go to the social event. And so we start a conversation about the fact that those social events, they will happen again. So the person can either go through it and be upset about the fact that people ask them, if they wanted to drink or if they wanted an extra slice of cakes, or they can honestly have a look at the situation beforehand and have a quick internal chat about how they're going to deal with the situation. And are they following a diet? Will they count calories? Will they be more intuitive with their diet? Will they have 1, 2, 3 slices of cakes? Will they get wasted, or will they stay sober? It's just like being honest and asking yourself, how are you going to deal with the situation? And that's priorities, right? Having your priorities well planned, mapped out, and just being in control of your life.
Yeah, I think that's great. And this is a perfect time of year to talk about this too. I mean, everybody's got a lot of big meals scheduled this time of year, regardless of what you celebrate or where you are. A lot of people have these big events and big meals. So it's the same thing as budgeting for a day. You need to budget ahead of time too. If you know that you're going to have a lot of big meals a couple weeks from now, then these couple weeks you're in right now, you need to be a little bit more strict to budget for that, like account for that, hold yourself accountable.
Yeah. Alex, I love your work, and I wonder, where can people find you, or are you running any specific offer for this period of the year?
Yeah, so I think the best place to follow me for people is on Instagram at Breaking 90 Fitness. They can find me on Facebook too, Breaking 90 Fitness, or Instagram. But Instagram's where my following's starting to grow a little bit. What I am offering right now is I've got our Fat Loss Forever program starting in January, and it's a lot of what we talked about, teaching busy women how to manage their nutrition and their health and their weight, and learn how to lose that weight and keep it off forever. And it's a 90-day program. If anybody is curious about that, for sure, check us out on Instagram and see what it's all about. And I'd love to have a conversation with you if you think that's something that you might be interested in.
Yeah, for sure. When the program is out there, you can definitely come back as a guest, and we can talk about something more in particular and more in depth, as well as your program. That'd be fun. So, guys. Well, Alex, thanks so much for being here. It was such a nice chat. And good luck for the future. Good luck for 2021. And all the best to you and your business and all your clients.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. It was an awesome opportunity, and I had a great time chatting with you. I can't believe how quickly the time went by.
Yeah. Time goes fast when you have fun. So thanks, Alex, and thanks you all for listening to today's episode of the Lean Muscle Warrior podcast. For today, from your host, Francesco Pavone, and from Alex Harriman, my guest, is everything. We're gonna talk soon. Ciao, ciao.